Hi there! Welcome to my channel where I share DIY skincare recipes. Today I would like to share an amazing recipe for a cocoa butter body butter. This body butter provides a luxurious conditioning skin feel and acts as a powerful moisturizer. I especially love this DIY body butter for winter, when my skin really appreciates the moisturizing and occlusive qualities of the cocoa butter. So let's get started. So let's talk about the ingredients you will need to make this body butter. The main ingredient is of course a cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is one of the best things you can use for your skin in winter. It is very high in stearic acid and that makes it one of the hardest and the most occlusive butters. And thanks to this occlusiveness, cocoa butter not only moisturizes and softens the skin, but also forms a thin protective layer on the skin surface, preventing moisture from escaping and therefore stopping the skin from drying out and losing elasticity. And it is because of this that cocoa butter is well known as being effective at keeping stretch marks at bay and providing relief for skin conditions such as eczema and psoriasis. The second ingredient is a rice bran oil. It's a light medium oil with a very unique composition. It contains ferulic acid and that is pretty unique to this oil. Ferulic acid is a very effective antioxidant and it has been proven to be way more effective than vitamin E, for example. And at this point there are a lot of studies that have shown that ferulic acid can prevent skin aging and reduce age spots. And though of course natural oil such as rice bran oil does not contain a huge amount of ferulic acid, it's still there, it still helps our skin, and not many oils can claim these properties, so it's definitely a keeper. I really recommend rice bran oil for the skin. The next oil is jojoba oil. Its composition is very similar to human sebum and because of that everyone's skin loves it. I personally really like using jojoba oil on my skin and especially in my body butters because it absorbs at an average speed but it absorbs fully. What I mean by that is that this oil initially feels oily and this allows it to glide really well on the skin, allowing you to evenly distribute it all over the skin, but then it absorbs fully, leaving no oiliness, just soft skin and satiny finish. So cocoa butter and the oils are the main ingredients you will need to make this cocoa body butter, and if that's all you have, you can still go ahead and your body butter will come out great. However, I would like to take this body butter to a next level and I want to introduce you to some additional ingredients that are not mandatory but they will take your body butter to a next level. So the first of them is BTMS50. It's a gentle emulsifying and conditioning agent used in hair and skin products. It is very popular for hair conditioners and emulsified lotions, but not many people know that it can do absolute wonders in an oil-based body butter like the one we're making today. When used in a body butter, oil-based body butter, BTMS50 acts as a conditioning agent and creates the most luxurious, wonderful skin feel. Trust me, it really takes the product feel to a different level and I highly recommend trying it out. And on top of that, I noticed that it helps to cut down the greasiness of the body butter and it helps to increase the volume and the thickness of it. It is also a great ingredient if you're making your body butter in summer and you're worried that it may melt from the heat. So this ingredient increases the melting point of the body butters and it sort of helps to protect the butter from the heat. Another ingredient that will help us to improve the feel of our body butter is tapioca starch. It is a very fine and smooth powder that comes from the root of the cassava plant. It does a really good job at absorbing oil, so when you add it to the body butter, it cuts the oily texture and helps the recipe absorb more quickly. And don't worry, it is such a fine and smooth powder that you won't feel any grittiness at all in the final product. So it's time to melt our solid ingredients, which is cocoa butter and our conditioning emulsifier BTMS50. There are some rules that need to be followed when melting cocoa butter, otherwise it may become grainy in the final product, which won't ruin the product. You can still use it and it will have all the benefits, but no one wants a grainy product. So the rules are that you have to heat cocoa butter without direct heat, meaning you cannot use a microwave. You should use something like a water bath, and you have to wait till the cocoa butter fully melts and then still keep it in the heat for about 15-20 minutes. Only this will ensure that all the cocoa butter crystals are equally melted, and it will ensure that your body butter is smooth. So to melt my ingredients, I am using this little pot for melting chocolate. I will link in the description below where I've got it. It's really convenient for melting small batches of ingredients, and it has this little hook that's really convenient to put it on a pot with water. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our solid ingredients. So we're adding BDMS 50. We're adding our cocoa butter. And now we're placing this pot into a bigger pot with water, and we're gonna place it on the stove and heat it up. So as you see, I am melting my cocoa butter and BDMS 50 in what's called a water bath. Basically, I have a pot with ingredients, and it's dipped in water that's being heated up, but it has no direct contact with the heat, and that's what's gonna protect our ingredients. And the key here for the smooth butter, for the smooth texture, is to wait till all the ingredients are fully melted and then heat it up for another 15-20 minutes, depending on how much of body butter you're making, how much ingredients you're using. So wait 15-20 minutes just to make sure that all the crystals inside, the ones that we cannot see with the naked eye, are fully melted, and only then take it off the heat. That's the secret to smooth butter. Now that I'm melting cocoa butter and I can smell it, I actually have another thing to mention while we're at it, is that cocoa butter has a really strong scent, a strong sort of chocolatey scent, but it's not the sweet chocolatey scent that you may imagine. It's a little bit more of a weird chocolatey scent. I personally really like it, but there are a lot of people that do not, so this is something to consider. And the scent is pretty hard to mask with fragrance or essential oils, so instead of that, you really need to work with the scent and add fragrances and essential oils that will sort of add and contribute and add to the cocoa butter scent, because you will just not be able to mask it no matter how much you add. So in this recipe, I didn't mention it in the beginning, but I will be adding a vanilla fragrance to the body butter, and vanilla fragrance and cocoa butter scent go really well together. Highly recommend. It's amazing scent. So that's what I'm gonna do. However, if you want a different scent, or if you know for sure that you don't like cocoa butter scent, or you think that you may not like it, you can always buy deodorized cocoa butter. It still has all the protective qualities of the butter and the benefits that we need. It just doesn't have the scent. So then you can make anything you want and add any scent you want, and you won't be bothered by the real cocoa butter scent. So I will link to both deodorized and the standard cocoa butter in the description below. Check them out and see which one you prefer. Now it's time to pour our melted cocoa butter into a heat-resistant and cold-resistant bowl, and place it in the freezer so it would cool down rapidly and the cocoa butter would not crystallize in the final product. Keep it in the freezer for about 30 minutes until the edges have solidified, but the middle is still relatively soft. It's time for my favorite part, whipping. And this recipe requires a lot of whipping. I think I ended up whipping for about 30 minutes total for this recipe to get the smoothness and the size of the body butter that I wanted. say that 30 minutes sound quite excessive, and your body butter will look like it's ready to go a lot earlier than that. But this is the biggest tip I can give you, is to always mix at least, or whip at least 3-4 times longer than what you intuitively would want to do. That is the biggest tip I can give you. It's the biggest mistake that new starters do, and that's the biggest secret that all the professional body butter makers have, is to really mix and whip your body butter for a long time. What it does, it ensures that all your oils and butters are really mixed together really well. Nothing will separate, nothing will crystallize later on. And it also adds a lot of smoothness, fluffiness, the air into the product, so the final texture is really airy and fluffy and smooth. And usually body butter, depending on the ingredients you use, increases in size quite significantly, so that's an added benefit too. Did you ever pay attention or watch the video of a professional making a body butter? And I mean those YouTubers that actually have their own business and they make body butters and then they sell them in various markets, or maybe in their online store. Is that they all have these huge electric stand mixers. So they put their body butters, they put their oils, all their ingredients in, they turn it on, and they let the machine do the job. And they usually run a machine for a really long time, but we cannot tell it in all the videos, so we potentially assume that they're mixing it for 10 minutes. But if it's a big batch, they mix it for 30, 40, 50 minutes even, just to get the smoothness and the fluffiness that we like so much. So what happens then, we try the recipes and we use the same ingredients and we whip our body butter and it looks kind of decent, but we don't get the same results, and it's because we never whip long enough. We never do, because we whip and the body butter becomes creamy and we think, okay, that's as good as it's gonna get. But if we're good with stick out and just whip it more with our little hand kitchen mixers for another 20 minutes to make it about 30, we would see what amazing results we can get. And I really believe that's the biggest secret, and that's where people are losing out. And it's so easy, it just requires a little bit of patience. So let me tell you exactly how long you need to mix to get this smooth cocoa body butter. As you've seen from the video while I was talking, I am mixing this cocoa butter for quite a while now. I am mixing it for 10 minutes. I speeded up the video a little bit just so that you wouldn't get very bored. Once you mix the body butter for about 10 minutes, you will notice that the texture totally changed. It solidified a little bit, and you already have a nice looking body butter. So now it's time to add approximately half of your liquid oils and then mix for another 10 minutes. Then add the rest of the liquid oils and mix for another 10 minutes. Then we will add our tapioca starch a little bit by a little bit, and we will mix for about 5 minutes. And then we will add our fragrance oil and then mix for the final 5 minutes. So the total is more or less 30 minutes. The time, of course, depends on how much of body butter you're making. If you're making more than this, you can mix for a little bit longer. can see from the video yourself that the more I whipped the body butter, the fluffier and smoother it became, and it really increased in its size. So at this point the body butter looks amazing and is ready to go. So here's the final body butter. As you see, it's very smooth and creamy. The body butter might harden a little bit depending on what temperature is at your home, or especially if you're making it in winter, because it does have a lot of cacao butter in it. But even if it does harden a little bit, it will maintain the smoothness and the fluffy look, and the moment you apply it on the skin, it's gonna melt in seconds and get absorbed really quickly. So here you see me applying it on the skin. You see it's very smooth, it gets distributed easily, it's silky, and it absorbs and disappears into the skin really quickly. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and maybe even learned something new. Don't forget that you can find all the ingredients and the quantities needed in the description below, and also at my blog DIYBeautyBase.com. I will leave a link in the description below for your convenience, and see you next time.